This second volume of the Purdue Newsreel covers the 1955-56 school year. We hope that Purdue alumni and friends will find this visual report of campus activities both interesting and enlightening, and that it will sharpen your desire to visit your ever-changing campus often in the years ahead. September found the Purdue campus awakening from its usual summer siesta, much the same as in previous years, except that possibly the tempo of activity of the 11,500 students has been somewhat accelerated this year. Registration and classroom assignments brought all students to the well-worn steps of the administration building, where they doubtless met these three new members of the Purdue staff. Dr. Donald Mallett, who replaced the late Dr. Frank C. Hockema as Executive Dean. Lytle Freehafer, University Business Manager. And on the left, Dr. William Combs, head of the Student Health Service, replacing the late Dr. Miller. Once students get settled down in the normal university routine, interest turns to the football practice field, where the Boilermakers prepare for a strenuous Big Ten season. Freshman coach Bob DeMoss assists varsity coaches with backfield candidates. And backfield coach Bill Elias works with the offensive units. Line coach Ned Maloney concentrates on the problems of defense. At the end of the season, assistant varsity coach Jack Mullencroft replaced Stu Holcomb as head coach when Stu left to become athletic director at Northwestern University. Then came the thrill of the first big game and band day. .6,700 high school bandsmen mass at halftime for one of the largest and most colorful gridiron spectacles in the nation. Believe it or not, these thousands cleared the field in just 2 minutes and 45 seconds. Just a week later, students were at the Purdue airport to see the football team board Purdue planes for Minnesota in a close 7-6 win over the Gophers. Homecoming at Purdue is the highlight of the entire fall season. The campus takes on a festive air with the university housing units, fraternities, and sororities vying with each other in the display of unique decorations that not only welcome back the visiting alumni, but also poke fun at the football team that is playing Purdue at the homecoming game. The last football game of 1955, a 6-4 win over Indiana, gave Pop Doan a most pleasant and satisfying task, the adding of the 8th consecutive P to the Old Oaken Bucket. While intercollegiate athletics are important, they are only part of Purdue's overall athletic program. Intramural athletic activity, physical development for all students, is now being emphasized more than ever before. This is the new $2.5 million Intramural Gymnasium being constructed just west of the main campus. It will serve both men and women students with every known type of gymnasium equipment, including indoor and outdoor swimming pools and a separate diving pool. When completed, Purdue will have the finest overall athletic plant in the country. But this is only a small part of the building program on campus. One important improvement is the replacement of old Heveland Hall, here being dismantled, with a modern and fireproof new Heveland Hall, one which will better and more effectively serve the present and future students at Purdue. The old chimes and the clock are being preserved, and the idea is they will ultimately be installed in some new location, and again call students to class in the old traditional manner. most outstanding new building on campus is the new Memorial Union Hall of Music Annex. Connected with the library and the Union, this $10.5 million building will provide much-needed space for the extension of the present library and for adult education group meetings. The northwest wing of the building will house the June Loeb Playhouse, a gift of Mr. and Mrs. Bert Loeb of Lafayette. The attractive new Home Economics building is one of the finest and most complete home economics teaching plants in the nation. And here's an innovation in student housing, prefabricated court-type units. Just south of State Street, where the Purdue Farm used to be, they provide complete facilities, including dining rooms, for 660 men students. Right across the street, work is underway to replace the wartime temporary units for married students. When completed, these buildings will accommodate 950 student families in modern 1- and 2-bedroom apartments. Just south and west of Cary Halls, the men's quadrangle, 3 new men's dorms are being built. Each is shaped like the letter H, and together they will house 1,950 men students under the most modern and ideal conditions. When the men move in here, X Hall, now occupied by men, will become a women's residence, and the scene of such activity as this.
Dashing through the snow in one horse open sleigh, o'er the fields we go, laughing all the way. Bells on bobtail ring, making spirits bright. What fun it is to ride and sing a sleighing song tonight. Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in one horse open sleigh. Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in one horse open sleigh. Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in one horse open sleigh. Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in one horse open sleigh. Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in one horse open sleigh. Hey! Deck the halls with boughs of holly. La 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 la. 'Tis the season to be jolly. La 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 la. Don we now our gay apparel. La 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 la. Oh, the ancient Yuletide carol. La 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 la.
And so the Purdue Varsity Glee Club brings Christmas to the campus. Upon their return from Christmas vacation, the interest of students turns to basketball. Playing a traditional rival, Notre Dame, Purdue here shows the class that later placed them in 3rd position in the Big Ten with a record of 9 wins against 5 losses during the 1955-56 season. The overall season record was 16 wins and 6 losses. The coaching of Ray Eddy, assisted by Joe Dienhart, is reestablishing Purdue as a basketball power in the Western Conference. The first sign of spring is an Easter egg hunt held on the mall in front of the Executive Building. West Lafayette youngsters, assisted by their parents and Purdue students, make this event long remembered by all. Another sure sign of spring is activity on the baseball diamond located just north of the field house. Broadcasting this game between Purdue and Minnesota is John DeCamp, Purdue's well-known sportscaster, and his guest for the game, Professor O.D. Roberts, the new Dean of Men. As spring progresses and the grass turns green, Purdue's All-American golfer Joe Camel works out on one of Purdue's two 18-hole golf courses. Joe, also an outstanding guard on the basketball team, won about every golf honor available to him. He was Big Ten champion, NCAA champion, amateur and open champion of Indiana, and semifinalist in the National Amateur. Joe Camel is truly one of the greatest athletes that ever attended Purdue University. Early in May came Gala Week. Henry Houston, class of 1882, and the Purdue All-American Marching Band led the annual parade to John Purdue's grave. In accordance with the tradition of this spring homecoming, returning alumni marched under class banners in the order of their graduation. The class of 1906 celebrating its 50th reunion, and all other classes celebrating reunions held each 5th year after graduation, were particularly well represented. The parade was spiced by this 1916 automobile, preserved and driven by members of the 1916 class. The officers of the 1931 class, it being their 25th reunion, placed the traditional wreath on John Purdue's grave, while the members of the 1906 class stood at attention. The ceremonies on the oval were completed with the rifle salute fired by the Purdue drill team. Class pictures were taken immediately after the ceremonies, and the Founders' Day banquet was held that evening. Another feature of Gala Week was the placing of a wreath on the grave of Dave Ross by the 35th anniversary class officers. Dean Emeritus of Engineering, Andre A. Potter, was the principal speaker on this occasion. The school year draws to a close with the annual commencement exercises held in Purdue's beautiful Hall of Music. The Purdue Alumni Association is proud to welcome these new members into their growing organization.